Hello everyone, and thank you for watching this video portion. This section is going to be dealing with analyzing and projecting financial trends, and we're going to use this information as part of the case capabilities analysis in the goals section of our strategic management case report, which is posted to Moodle. We're going to be using the value line survey investment information, which I'll show you an example here momentarily. This information is going to be provided by me, and it can only be used for our class only, meaning that we don't get the luxury to share this information outside of our class. Typically, this type of information is used by investors who's looking at and analyzing stock to invest in. So we're going to use some of the information to help us do our analysis. It's not about how to look at stock for an investment, but it does have some good financial information that we want to use to analyze our companies and several of their major competitors. So there's certainly other sources of this financial information that is available: Standard & Poor's, Moody's, Yahoo Finance. MarketWatch is another one that I've seen some of this information as well, but using Value Line ensures that we have some consistency across our presentations. And the information that we're going to glean from Value Line is going to be the sales, the operating margin, rate of return on invested capital, or ROI, rate of return on shareholders' equity, or ROE, long-term debt, shareholders' equity. And we're going to be using the long-term debt and equity as well to help us to develop some estimates of invested capital and calculate leverage. And we know that leverage is a measure of financial risk, or a proportion of capital represented by debt, or in other words, a good measure of its overall financial performance as compared to and we can use that to compare to its competitors as well. So we'll take this data, we'll place it in an Excel spreadsheet, and we'll use it to develop some trends, some graphs. And in those graphs, you're going to see where you'll see the variations in the graph, and it's going to be our role as part of our strategic analysis is try to analyze why are we seeing these dips and upticks in some of this information, which we'll share with you here momentarily as well, and try to figure out what's going on with that company as part of establishing our strategy for goals as well as future implementation initiatives as well. And we're going to be using that to do some financial goal setting 5 years from now, or in other words, out to 2023. And that's going to be a projection of what we're going to be doing using the value line information. Now, we will use some of the very same concepts that we're going to share in this particular video to evaluate your competition or your major rivals in the industry or markets to which you're going to be studying of your company. Certainly, we don't have the luxury of time to cover every one of their competitors, but we do want to pick maybe 2 or 3, no more than 2 or 3 of their major competitors in their market. And in some cases, there may be only one, and that'll be fine. And we will use this information, again, as part of our overall case analysis and presentation. You should begin to start assembling this information as soon as you have someone who's going to be assigned doing the financial stuff, so that they can go ahead and get a jump, start looking at it, because what you're going to see is that there's going to be some natural overlap of some of this information that you just won't use in these 2 sections, but you may talk about some of this financial information in several sections of your case outline. So you want to start assembling the information as soon as possible, sooner rather than later. So now let's go look at an example of Dollar General, which is the value line information that we have, and how we put that information into the Excel data. Then we have to take some of the information and we'll convert that to a Word document so that we can get it in the right format so that we can put it into a PowerPoint presentation. So with that, let me bring this new one this one over here. Let me share this with you. This is the value line report that we were talking about. And again, this is Dollar General's information. It shows you the recent price when this particular one was developed, and it looks like this one was developed April 26, 2019, so it's relatively current. And as you can see, it gives you a lot of good information here as well with reference to earnings per share, quarterly sales, annual rate, its current position, some of its capital structure, as well as some information, historical information about the company, as well as some additional information down in here as well that you may find useful. But what we're looking for this particular one is, you can see the data is in 10-year trends, goes out from 2009 up to current 2018. 2019 is a projection, 2020 is a projection, as well as the projection between 2022 and 2024. So we're going to select 2023 as our benchmark for that 5th year out, and we're going to show you how we're going to do some of these calculations here momentarily in an Excel spreadsheet. But the things that we're going to be looking at, as you can see, the things that's highlighted, we want to get the sales and be mindful of your unit of measurement. In this particular one, it looks like everything is in millions of US dollars. So be very mindful of that to make sure that if it comes back, if it is in billions or millions, that we annotate that into our Excel spreadsheet as well as in our graph that we're going to produce. The AB here, as you can see, if you come down here, you see these legends as to what it stands for. Some of your information may be blank like this, as we can see dashes, which it was so low that they couldn't measure it, or it could have a term called NMF, or November Mike Foxtrot, which stands for no meaningful data. Or no meaning figures, which means that it was so low for what they were reporting here that it just didn't include it. And typically, if you see that, I would just insert a 0 when I had an NMF value. There's none here on this particular sheet, so it looks like we're good for this one. So for Dollar General, we're going to look at the sales over its 10-year history and make a projection of sales. We're going to use the operating margin. We're going to use the long-term debt. We're going to use the shareholder equity. And we're going to use ROI and ROE values. So this is the highlighted information. This is typically the type of information that we're going to be using. So with that, I went ahead and took the liberty to take this information here and transfer it to an Excel model. That this model is also included into our Moodle shell. So you have the option of creating your own, or you can certainly use this one, your choice. But this information is the very same information that was included into the value line. And as you can see, we're using Dollar General. We have 2 sections of operating trends and financial trends, and it looks like we're in millions of dollars, which is what was reflected here in our value line report. So we just took this information, as you see here is highlighted, for each one of those variables we're looking for, and included that directly into our Excel spreadsheet. And the thing that about this one is we start with 2009, we go through 2018 with actual numbers. Then we notice that 2019 and 2020 were projected numbers that we see here. These 2 values here were projected. Then we have this 2023 value of 34,500 in this particular example, which is what we have here. Now the 2021 and 2022, we included that just so that whenever we created a graph, you would not have a blank or data that was not projected here so that we could get a nice pretty graph. And how do we calculate these values here? Well, as you see, everything that's here in red, we're using that information between 20, 21, and 22, and 23. We're using this information to be able to make these calculations here. Or in other words, as you can see, in cell address N4, we point directly back to S4, and that value is the same. So 2022 is here at T4, which is being populated here. So we're taking the difference between this cell P4, which is 2023 data, from M4, and we're averaging that out times 3, 1, 2, 3, which gives us the values that are being added back to here. So that's kind of how that's working. And that's true for all of these other values that's here in gray that is being projected out for 2021 and 2022, so that, again, we can have a complete graph and not have any gaps in our data. So with that, as you can see how we've got these charts created, different types of charts. And what we're really interested in is look at the trend as you're analyzing this information. Why did this occur here in 2017? What happened in 2017 for this company? As we can see here, the long-term debt for this particular company, they had a lot of debt, but if you know anything about Dollar General, they've been on a very, very extensive expansion program, which has obviously the more debt that you have, the faster the company is growing. They're probably using that debt to grow the company. Now it looks like from 2019 on, they're projecting a pretty sharp decline into getting to limiting that debt. And you want to know why they're doing that. Certainly from a competition standpoint, a company that's highly leveraged or has a high debt certainly is a target for a potential takeover. But if you know anything about, again, Dollar General is one of those companies that has been aggressive in expansion, but certainly it serves a different market than, say, a Walmart. Almost Dollar General serves a market where Walmart simply will not go into. And in some cases they are, but their clientele typically is convenient, 2 or 3 items, and they're out the door. It's not like going to Walmart. So you want to analyze what's going on with that company. Why are these trends occurring the way that they are occurring? Now, again, we took this value line information and we just started populating this information directly into the cell. And what I wanted to show you is that as we change numbers, you see that it changes the curve. The curve automatically changes with that. So you don't have to recreate the curves, but you certainly can create the charts. I mean, if that's what you wanted to do from scratch as well. Then, as we talked about long-term debt and equity in the presentation, what we're looking for is what's the total capital that they have that they're using to finance operations. And that's a sum, that's the sum of these two cells here. So the capital and leverage, if you don't do anything here, they will automatically calculate for you as well. But the capital is the total sum of long-term debt and equity that they're using to finance the company. Then the leverage, or that capital to debt, equity to debt, is a proportion of the leverage of that company. To talk about how well the company is leveraging or how well it's operating from a standpoint of shareholder equity or equity to long-term debt. And certainly here of recent long-term debt, borrowing money from a company perspective has not been a bad strategy, just simply for the reason that money has been relatively cheap and from a borrowing perspective, because one of the things that you're going to want to do from an economic standpoint in developing your plan is look at inflation and interest rates, because interest rates directly affects a company's ability to operate, especially if money is so cheap as it has been for the last 5 to 10 years, where interest rates has been so low. that borrowing money is just a great strategy to help a company expand, like here in this company here. But we want to use this leverage as a talking point as we compare leverage of this particular company to its competitors, as an example. So this is how you can use this Excel spreadsheet to create your graphs in order to use these graphs in your presentations. Now, the other piece of this is associated with the compare a table of gold for 2023 or out to 5 years from now. This is the table of goals worksheet. And what this is, the way I created this one is that I point directly back to the information that we included in the financial trend. This is what this cell address is saying. Excel is saying, go to the financial trends worksheet, look at the results in K4 and put those results here in B6. And you'll see that throughout all of these that's not colored or no color at all or white. If you just don't do anything with that, use the financial trends to work on that, all this information here should automatically populate. But with technology, I would always verify those values. So let's go verify sales for 2018 of 25625 in millions of dollars. 2018 sales was 25625, so we can see that that aligns. 27475 for 2019, which we see that aligns, and we see that the gold for 2023, which was the other information that we put in, 34500 also aligns. So all this information here automatically is being populated from the work that we're doing on the financial trends worksheet. And the stuff that's in yellow as well is the stuff that's automatically being calculated for you. You should not have to make any changes there at all. Hopefully all that's going to be automatically calculated. But we're using this type of information to reach out that 5 years to draw some conclusions about the gold and the change. And you will use this same information here as well as here to look at or the concepts to be able to analyze it against your major competitors or rivals in your particular market. So that kind of gives you the overall brush of how we're going to use value line information. And again, we will provide this for you, we will provide this for you, and certainly we'll provide it for you of any competitor that you may have. I just need to know who they are. Certainly, we want to use this for your major company. If you want to use, certainly for the golds here, some of this information from another source, that's perfectly fine. But just if you want to use value line for your competitor, just let me know. So now that we have created the Excel spreadsheet, we have taken this information, we have put it into the Excel spreadsheet. It has created some of these graphs for us. And be mindful that here that the scaling is important, as well as your titles. Here I didn't get into a lot of how to go in there and doing that or making a lot of changes, because I really want you to see how the Excel spreadsheet was working. So how do I take this information here, a few of these charts, and put it into a PowerPoint? So let's go here first. So I'm going to open up a Word document. This is one way. You may have a better way, which is perfectly fine. You do it the best way that makes it easy for you. But this is one way in which I do it. So one of the first things that I want to do is put in my title of my company, obviously my company and what I'm trying to accomplish here. And this is, again, going to be tailored to your company. Then I want to go to Insert, and I want to put in a 2x2 table. And I want to stretch this table out to take up my entire sheet. And obviously, I'm going to put this into a landscape for me. and I want my margins to be as maximum as I possibly can get them. And again, this is one way, certainly not the only way. You may have a better way of doing this. And if you have one, please share with the rest of us so that we can use that information as well. But hopefully you kind of see the concept that we're trying to do here. So that gives us a 4x4 table. Then I'm going to go back to my Excel spreadsheet, and I'm just going to pick my first one. And we're going to hopefully paste it. Hopefully it'll paste. And I'm going to come back and grab another one. And what we're trying to do is get 4 slides onto one sheet of PowerPoint. It's not really, it may not make that much of a difference, but you may choose to do 1 per slide, or you may choose to do 2 per slide, or 4 per slide. Either way you want to do it should be fine. But this just kind of gives you a different way of doing it. Again, certainly not the only way of doing it, but kind of gives us a different way of doing that. And be mindful that whenever you are, make sure you go down at least 1 line so that you can get your title in, because if you put all this in first, then what you're going to end up happening is that you won't be able to find room to put in a title. So, and certainly if I want to come in here and change the scaling, when I left click and right click, I can format my data series, as you can see, and I can do some editing to any of these. I could add colors, change titles, change the font size, those type things to give me a good format look for our table. And certainly I like to always put in a line so that I know, again, if I want to draw where am I at today, I may do something like this, just as a point of reference in all my cells. So you can see this is at least one way. Then when I have this information here, what I'm looking for hopefully is to be able to copy this information, go to a Excel spreadsheet, and to be able to hopefully insert this information. Hopefully this will work for us and we can start building our PowerPoint presentation. So as you can see, this is kind of where we're going. And as you can see, this one didn't work out quite as good as I hoped. There's going to be some formatting that I'm going to have to do, but it looks like some of this stuff is on top of each other in order to do this. But you can at least get a feel for what we're trying to accomplish here as we're doing this, so that you can use this type of information to be able to create your PowerPoints, and using the Excel spreadsheet along with the value line information. So what I'd like to do is I would like to try that one more time to see if we can't make this work for us, because this is a cool way to wish to do it. Certainly, again, not the only way, but get rid of this information here. Let me come back here, copy again. There you go. So that's how we can use this information and go from one to another to go ahead and get our information onto one graph. It just makes a very good presentation, very neat, very succinct. But if whether you do it one per slide or two per slide or four per slide, that'll be up to you and your team. But the most important thing is to use the value line, use the Excel, create these charts, and to be able to analyze the charts and try to draw some type of conclusion on the charts based on the information, again, that you have integrated all your knowledge throughout your entire MBA program, and certainly what you used in Business 670 and the techniques you're learning here. So I look forward to working with you in this particular class, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Consider me as part of a team member. Obviously, I won't be doing the work for you, but certainly will be ensuring that we stay focused, we stay on track, that we're heading in the right direction, and that we're integrating everything that we need. And please bear this in mind. It's not just about presenting data, but as much as analyzing that data while you're presenting is really what we want you to gain from this. So please let me know if I can help you. Looking forward to working with you and a successful outcome of this project. And thank you so much for watching.